Welcome to the realm of magic and mystery, classic horror and sci-fi. You are now entering the House of the Unusual podcast with your hosts, Eddie and Joe.
Welcome, all you cool ghouls and friendly fiends. It's the House of the Unusual podcast. I'm your host, Joe Pavlansky, coming to you from an undisclosed location. Unfortunately, I cannot be with the group today. I'm going to turn it over to my good buddy, Eddie Guevara, for the introductions and the setup for what's going to turn out to be a great topic of discussion today. So, Eddie, take it away.
Hello, Mike. How are you today? What's new in your neck of the woods?
Well, I'm on tour right now and having a great time up in the Rocky Mountain areas. In fact, this Friday, I'm going to be at Phillipsburg Opera House in Phillipsburg, Montana. It's a 135-year-old theater and really amazing. They still have the backdrops from the old days 100 years ago. And it's really a beautiful theater. And then from there, I'm going to be doing some ghost hunting in the area this coming weekend. So having a lot of fun and doing a lot of cool shows.
Wow, fantastic. And let me ask you a question. What are you still doing? What, the danger magic and stuff?
Oh, yeah. In fact, I'll be doing at the Phillipsburg Theater, I'm going to be doing danger magic for the first half of the show and the hypnosis on the second half. So, yeah, and developing a lot of new routines and demonstrations. I'm doing a new one where I'm pulling a chain through my body, and it's a solid steel chain that I have people examine. Then we tie it around, then I pull it through my body. It's pretty dramatic and pretty cool.
Wow. So now what do you mean? A chain goes through your body?
Yeah. We have a couple people come up. They totally pull on it, do a tug of war. And then we have them tie it around my waist and then I pull it through my body.
Okay. That sounds like a magic. Didn't Doug Henning used to do something like that back in the day in Broadway?
Not Doug, but there's an old demonstration that a lot of people used to do with rope, but it's very different because using the heavy chain and through the body instead. There's rope around the neck is how they used to do it. But I use a different technique and a whole different style of doing it.
Oh, wow. That's really cool. Now, what about you still like swallowing the blades? Because I saw some of your, some of your commercials and stuff, and you were like swallowing razor blades and all that stuff. It was kind of cool,
Oh, yeah, still doing that. That's the opening for the Danger Magic show. I do a bullet catch in the show and do couple of big escapes in the show that I have a Homeland Security vest that I escape out of and just some cool stuff like that. I do staple gun roulette with my face. Kind of cool stuff.
It's I was reading not too long ago about Houdini. One of the things, that I was reading is how he went over to Europe and how he started, challenging. This is when he was, I guess, catching fame. In the early days, and he would go up to like the prisons and tell them to lock him up and stuff like that. And I think he found himself one or twice in situations which was kind of awkward,
Oh yeah, well, he would take any challenge, but he was very smart. I mean, he would definitely usually check out what he had to do ahead of time. Of course, there was a time that he was accused in Germany of being a fake, and they actually had a court case, and he had to be in court. And they threw him in the actual, vault that they had there. And he had to escape out of it. And what the secret of that was, and not really revealing anything new because it's everywhere, but the secret is that safes and vaults are made to keep people out, not to keep them in.
Yeah, that's correct. I heard that before.
Yeah, but Houdini could get out of anything. He was amazing. You know what I loved about Houdini, though, and I say this most every show, is he came from a poor immigrant family, and he was actually born overseas. But as a baby, he came to America. But he always wanted to call himself American. He never associated with being born overseas. But the deal was that I thought was great about him was he came from a poor immigrant family. His dad barely spoke English. He was a cantor and a rabbi, I guess, too. And but yet he became the biggest star in history. I mean, it's almost 100 years ago he last walked on stage. But I tell you, every show I do, 90% of the people raise their hand when I say, do you know who Houdini is? And that's pretty amazing. I mean, almost 100 years ago, and yet he's still so famous.
You know what? I want to ask you a question now that you mentioned that, since you do danger magic, and, in a sense, I guess you're like a little bit in the middle between, let's say, Sigmund and Freud, where they did that thing with the animals and stuff, and then Houdini did all those. You're kind of like in the middle, and I think you're also you do a little bit of magic, kind of like the Chinese guy that was not Chinese, the guy who was a Ming Zhu, that he did the bullet catch and he actually got killed doing
Oh,
it.
Chang
Chung
Ling.
Ling Soo, that's right.
Yeah.
What do you compare yourself like? Where do you compare yourself to those three people? Let's say.
Well, the thing is that, I do such a variety of magic because I also have a show I do at amusement parks for family audiences. And so I still do the classic stuff too. But my main show is Danger Magic on the magic side. And I guess, I kind of the closest I compare to what I do now is really to David Blaine, who's very current and out there. He's much more extreme than me, but it's similar, but more of a family friendly David Blaine kind of show.
When you're saying David Blaine, I know how he does, like sometimes in New York City where he put himself in the block of ice.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember. For some reason though, David Blaine is a great magician and stuff. The only thing I could just he doesn't look the magician type. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you have David Copperfield. He actually, but David Blaine, even though he's got the fame and everything, when I look at him, I just don't really look at him as a magician. I don't he doesn't have the look. Let's just say that he's not the stereotypical magician. And
No, that's true.
and for some reason that I always kind of put him in the back burner. I don't really watch too much of his stuff, and I think it's because, like, again, we're growing up in a time where for us even back in the 70s, a magician would have like a top hat, the
Well,
goatee.
you mentioned Doug Henning, and he was really the one that started the whole change where they got away from the top hat and the formal clothes. It was Doug Henning who kind of revolutionized being unique and color. He was colorful, very colorful, and the long hair and the mustache and all that. So it really kind of started morphing at that point. And then even Copperfield to an extent, although he was more classical at the beginning, but he also got more where he'd wear a variety of clothes that were not usual magic clothes, but he still kind of kept that traditional feel. But yeah, and then came along Chris Angel and David Blaine. It's very different. And, but David Blaine's ultra successful. In Las Vegas, they charge $1,200 for his seats in the front orchestra section.
You're kidding me. Really?
I'm not kidding you.
That is amazing. I mean, he's good. I mean, I've seen him do pretty good. I'm just saying the stereotypical look that he has is definitely different from that of a magician.
Oh, absolutely. But that's kind of why he's been so successful, I think.
That could be to today's modern days,
right.
For people not looking for that. One of the things I remember, especially with Doug Henning when he was over in Broadway, is I always somehow confused him when I was young for Chico and the Man. Remember that show?
Yes, Freddie Prinze.
Yes, Freddie. And for some reason, I looked at him and I thought it was the same guy when I was 7 or 8. Am I correct in saying that? I mean,
well, the poster especially had that look for the magic show that he did on Broadway. When he was doing the magic show, the way they drew the poster and the mustache and everything definitely emulated that. Now, if you saw them live, you'd see that obviously they would look totally different, but the poster itself and the way that the art was done definitely felt that way. Yeah.
Why don't you give us a little rundown in Sigmund and Freud? Because I know that you were very close to them. You actually met them, and I think you worked with them when you were very young. Overall, give us a little rundown, because I know you did it way back about 2 years ago in one of our podcasts.
Yeah.
And it's been a while. And like I said, I know you've been traveling the whole country. You haven't been in the podcast in a couple of months due to the fact that you've been on the road.
Right.
And Chuck, for some reason, was telling me, Eddie, and this is for people out there. A lot of people ask themselves, is magic still prevalent? Are people still even actually watching it? Can you sell magic? Well, it is, because Chuck, for some reason, has told me in the last couple of days, for the last month or two, that he has had to turn away over 15 shows. He's almost, and this is no kidding, he's been doing a show a day. There was one Saturday where I think he had to pull off 2 shows at once. And he's really overwhelmed.
Well, I'll tell you, in the last 3 weeks, I've done 50 performances.
50 performances. Wow. So go ahead. Tell us a little bit then, as I had asked you.
Well, Siegfried and Roy, the great thing about them was they were totally unique. Now, recently, you know, I did that show on Reels, Autopsy Last Hours of Roy Horn, which is still available on the Reels channel. And then they did another special just recently about it that was more on a negative tone with people that really weren't associated with them at all. And like the lady that was with the, you know, the tiger guy, and I don't know. But anyway, so it wasn't very informative. But Siegfried and Roy, what was wonderful about them, you had the combination of an excellent animal trainer in Roy and an excellent magician in Siegfried. And perhaps separately, they might have never either one of them separate or individual have been great, but together they were fantastic. Sort of like you look at comedy teams, you know, like Martin and Lewis, or, you know, separate they weren't as good as the whole, you know. And that was how it was with Siegfried and Roy. Together they were unbeatable, and their magic was totally unique, seen before and never seen after. I always argue with magicians, not argue, but I argue the point that Siegfried and Roy were probably the greatest of all time because none of their magic will ever be duplicated.
That is correct. That is correct. Well, one of our magicians, Chuck, which has been lurking on the side there. Welcome, Chuck.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Sorry I'm a little late.
Chuck.
Hey, how you doing, Michael? All right.
Great. Good to hear your voice.
Yeah. Me and Michael were going over some of the things with magic and how busy magic has gotten. And I had just mentioned that you're just like coming off one show after the other.
Yeah, it's been quick. I actually took a nap. I just woke up and I see your message and I said, "Oh, I better get on there." But
yeah, you finished the show this afternoon, correct?
I did, yes, and I did one last night at 8 p.m. and it's been like nonstop. I mean, which is great. You know, I'm not complaining. It's just that it's very busy, and I'm putting stockade fences up around my house on my days off, so it's like, you know what, it like never ends. So,
you know,
very busy.
One of the things Mike has been traveling. I think, how many months you've been traveling now, Mike?
I've been on the road for a couple months, but I was just telling Eddie that I had done 50 performances in the last 3 weeks.
It's crazy, man. Yeah. Wow.
It's insane, but it's fun. I mean, you and I both love it. And of course, I've done some of mine in 104 temperature as well, out in the sun. So it's been challenging.
Yeah, that's the thing, Michael. I've been stuck out in the sun a lot. And, you know, I'm actually getting burnt a little bit, which doesn't, you know, it doesn't normally happen to me because I'm fairly, you know, dark complected, but I've been putting sun.
Right.
And it's crazy, man.
Let me, it's funny when you guys are saying working out in the sun and stuff and all the, you know, how busy. I don't know if it's because of the season. I mean, we're heading towards the beginning of fall now. We're going to be heading to the Halloween season soon. And for some crazy reason, also, I've been selling quite a few things, original stuff. In fact, Michael, I just recently put, which I was kind of not surprised, but I know it was going to happen. I put one of my original 7-foot Frankensteins, the plastic ones that come in 2 pieces from the 1970s. And I was surprised. It actually sold for $560 on eBay.
Wow, how wonderful.
That's great.
That was a great thing. I mean, because it means, and it's always been what I said, that I think the green poster is always demanding a higher price than the color one because of whatever reason. I think because there's more people now in their 50s that came from the 70s, while the color version was actually sold in the early, late 60s, right. Which, the guys are getting a little older and stuff, but there's more popularity for the 70s stuff.
Yeah.
Somebody, I can't really say, I mean, I wish I was able to, but the person asked my son not to say who gave it to me. But I mean, obviously I could probably tell you guys off the record, but they gave me a museum display big giant eyeball.
Oh wow.
But I think it's made of, I don't know, paper mache or what it is, but it's 113 years old.
Wow, that's cool.
Jeez.
And I thought it was a lot smaller. My son went to Boston and praise God for went up there and when he was coming back, he says it took up the whole back seat of the car. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Wow.
I thought it was a lot smaller than that, but
that's a pretty big eye, huh?
Well, the first thing that it actually came to my mind when he's saying that, I'm dying to see a picture of it. You know that movie in the 1950s, that B movie that was, I think, The Crawling Eye.
Oh yes. Forrest Tucker was in it, and
Uh, who was in it again?
It was Forrest Tucker, and it took
Oh,
place
that's right.
in a mountain in the snow,
That
and
was
they were
cool.
down and they couldn't escape because they were up. They went up on the ski lift to go up to the mountain where I don't know, there was like a base up there, and the crawling eyes were coming up there. Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, okay, that's right. That's right. I saw that movie. Gosh, years ago. You kind of brought back to me with when the storyline behind it,
Yeah,
but I do remember that. So I'm thinking in my mind it probably looks like that. Maybe not. I don't know. But
yeah.
it's going to be an exciting piece to add to my collection now. What's going on in our neck? My neck of the woods and stuff. Mike, as I guess when you do have the time, you will probably finish it. But you were going to do a piece for the book, which is a chapter, I guess, a couple of pages on Universal Monster Army Aurora model kits and stuff, and the Captain Company from
Yeah, yeah.
Monsters.
I had an article I had to do for Scary Monsters, and when I get back off tour, I will try and complete that. My schedule is crazy until like Halloween, but I'll do my best.
That's fine because I'm actually, you know people don't realize, and I didn't realize, that in order to put a book together takes almost a year. And
Right.
I have Jason Bakley is doing now. Jason, he has been a computer programmer from Canada. He's been on our show several times. Mike, I don't think you've ever spoken with him,
No,
but he's been collecting all the original 1970s karate courses, life-size posters, all the
Oh, those are awesome.
yeah.
Yeah.
And he's come across almost every type of karate course that was ever sold on books. And he's put already so far 2 chapters for me and Chuck. Obviously, Chuck did how magic interacted with the mail order of the time, because a lot of people realize. I mean, a lot of people that don't realize is anytime you saw a mail order comic book ad, you would find in the mail order ad some type of magic, either
Oh,
magic
yeah.
cards or
Absolutely.
flowers from fingertips, or there was a lot of it, smoke from fingertips.
Yes.
So you can't take magic away from the classical mail order, because, in fact, I think magic made most of classical mail order, especially with companies like Vic Lawson, who they were very big in Grant Magic. Now, UF Grant, Chuck has mentioned it before, but Chuck, I believe the original Larry King has actually ate in your house. That you know him very well, and
Yeah, that was UF Grant's son-in-law. His name is Jimmy King,
oh,
and
Jimmy King.
he was married to UF Grant's daughter, which is Mary Ann King. Okay, which is what he came.
Oh,
Yeah, he changed the name later from Grant Magic to Mac Magic, and that's an acronym for Mary Ann King. And
And
she passed away. I just found out about 3.5 years ago, somewhere around there.
hmm.
Yeah, but he's still alive. Jimmy's still alive. When I was at the IBM convention here just about a month ago in Pittsburgh, I bumped into Jeff Hotstetler, and he used to run the convention out in Columbus for Jimmy King, and so I asked him, "How's Jimmy King doing?" He said he's alive, but Marianne passed away, and he became somewhat of a recluse, so he doesn't really come out
Hmm.
too much anymore. But yes, he stopped over my place, and I actually sold him the rights to an electronic snake type of a basket where the snake comes in and out of the basket. He comes up with a card in his mouth. So we worked out a deal, I guess, about 9 years ago, somewhere around there. But
when you say snake in a basket, Pointer Products, the people that made the Adams Family Thing Bank,
yes, yes.
and they actually made a snake in a Sonic toy, snake in a basket. I actually have one of those original. I don't have the box for it, but I have an original, and it wasn't working. And so a friend of mine is trying to fix it, but I've been looking for the schematics, anything that would show where the wires go inside.
Right.
And he's an electrician, and there's 2 wires we cannot get to fix. And that's you just reminded me of that, because that would be a phenomenal thing to actually get working again.
Yes, absolutely.
It's so rare. Now, the things that are happening other than that, as you know, Mike, thanks to Chuck, I've actually met a lot of the magic legends and spoke to them. And one of the person that was supposed to be in the podcast but had open heart surgery was from Penn and Teller. We were talking about Teller, and Teller told me he would give me 15 minutes Zoom call, which is phenomenal because it'd be great to actually do a Zoom
Sure.
podcast with him on. Right now in the present, and I actually wrote him about a week ago, I think it was, and the manager wrote back and said he's going to let me know when he's available again. I wanted to give him some time to recover because they did do a tour in Australia. Unfortunately, it wasn't filmed, but it was about, I think it was in June, I think, or May, June, something they did it in. But that's some of the thing. Now the other thing is, I met a guy in Chiller last time I went. I think was in the April show, and this guy is an artist. He's very popular, and he does a lot of the. By the way, if anybody hears that chipping bird in the background is, I have a friend visiting me as where I'm kind of bird sitting, and even though he's all the way over there in the kitchen, he seems to be pretty loud.
What kind of bird is that, Eddie?
It's a little cockatiel.
Okay.
Wow. But not a little. He's a pretty big cockatiel, but it's kind of funny though because he's very happy. He's chipping away there, and I think it's about time to put him to sleep. But,
yeah.
It makes me laugh that he's in the background. And what am I going to do? Tie a gag on him?
No, he's another guest. He adds a little flavor to the podcast.
Right.
Yeah, listen, Bird, you got to shut up, Bird. So the thing that was interesting is that what I was saying is that I am putting, me and Richard actually was selling a mock-up of Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein, and the way he drew,
wow.
I mean, this is really nice. He drew Frankenstein in the background with bolts, lightning bolts hitting his bolts, right? Neat. And in the front, Abbott and Costello is like in the front of him, looking up and scared and terrified. And Frankenstein has his hands up in the air. The poster, I think Richard was selling, if I'm correct, for like $110 or $108. So I went there. We worked out a deal. He signed the poster for me, and I was able to get his phone number. Then, of course, we befriended on the phone, and I actually asked him if he would help me come up with because I've decided a lot of people. I mean, anybody who grew up in the 70s and read a comic has to remember the ad for The Haunting. Right. That's where the ghoul says, invite your friends over for a haunting.
That was so cool.
Yeah, and well, that particular thing, Richard took it and he redrew it from scratch. Meaning, not redrew it, but he redrew the whole ad and retypeset it, and it came out beautiful. And I said, Rich, I want to do the album. Would you be willing to help me redesign it? Like do the artwork. So we were talking about a box set that would have a T-shirt inside, and the record and a comic book.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, but I decided in order to prevent cost, because I want to sell this product for $20.
Oh wow!
I want to have to sell it for $29.95. We had to do away with the T-shirt. So what we have done is we're including the comic book. It's a 5-6 page comic book that was actually done for The Haunting, and it was also drawn by Guevara, which is the artist over in California that works with me. It was painted, and the words and stuff were added by Richard Hilliard. And then what we did is the album is going to have inside, if you guys know the famous what do you call the famous Walt Disney chilling sounds of the haunted house.
Oh yeah,
I have it.
I have like 20 of those because is my favorite old time album. Well, you know how it came with the free stuff inside?
Yeah.
Like the tips and tricks in the inner sleeve. Well, what I decided to do instead of just when we have the cardboard outside of the album, it's going to have inside, we put together a course, or not a course, but a how-to guide on how to build a portable haunted house that you can take with you in your car.
Cool.
So that you can basically build and use in, like flea markets, and then you can charge people the entrance. So that's going to be a really nice free gift with the record.
Oh, that'll be excellent.
For 20.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
And there's a good possibility that I'm actually going to launch the record on Kickstarter. And the reason I'm doing that is because it's a 14 to 16 week pressing time.
Wow.
So I placed the order, but it's a long time. I won't be able to get it by Halloween, but it's going to be available in Chiller for pre-orders. And so the book itself, I'm thinking publishing date. I've got my chapter's almost finished. Jason's almost there. I'm waiting for you, I guess. Mike and Chuck did his. I think Sherry needs the
Yeah, Sherry's good.
part.
Yeah.
And then Cabaraj is actually doing all the interior of the book, and he's designed the cover. I mean, he's done everything with the book. And the idea, it's going to be, I wanted how can I say, I wanted it hardcover, which I might still do a hardcover edition limit run of maybe 500 or 1,000.
I
But
see.
it's going to be 8.5 by 11, 250 pages. We're looking at maybe 220 pages, and it's going to be a soft cover.
Mm-hmm.
Because Cav, who's got the experience, I don't want to overwrite, especially since he's doing almost 90% of the book. He's telling me that, hardcovers don't sell that well, which, you know what, it might be true. I mean, hardcovers will sell and have a limited life if you only sell 1,000 copies and that's it. A good example is Mail Order Mysteries. It's a coffee tabletop, book, whatever.
Right.
I like to do a hardcover because I would like to do a hardcover edition just for a limited run, and offer them both.
Sure.
I'll tell you one thing, man. I started writing my chapter. Holy cow! I spent almost 2 weeks just to get to 7 pages. And of course, we're going to have a book that's going to be filled with photographs of the original stuff, original ads. And for a lot of people, of course, I do it mostly to get people, because in eBay, when you list things on eBay, you have one major problem. eBay doesn't allow you to put any link whatsoever to any website, any information outside of eBay, which is kind of not cool because, I mean, right now, when I sold this monster for $560, they actually took out $73.48 and $13 for shipping. That's almost $100 off the bat.
Right.
Fees. Okay, so the only thing I could see is that the only way that I can get people to see where I am, or even go to my YouTube channel and use eBay as a whole in a positive way, is, say, for example, I listed the Polaris submarine at a starting price of $25,000. But since it's $25,000, I'm doing that because I don't want some crazy nut to buy it. Which, I put it, but it's got several hundred views. And in it, I do address that if they want to see, the unboxing of it, they can go to the YouTube channel.
Right.
This way, it kind of doesn't bring any red flags. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And in a sense, I'm using eBay as a publicity, which it should be the way. I mean, you should be allowed to run ads and just get people to come to you. And that's what it's doing right now.
That's good. Eddie,
Mm-hmm.
You were mentioning about the Haunted Mansion and all that. I love the Haunted Mansion. I bet both you guys do too.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know if you guys saw. Did you see the new Haunted Mansion movie that was out?
No, I did not have a chance yet. I'd love to see it though.
It really touched on all the characters. I mean, did either of you see the one with Eddie Murphy that was out about 10 years ago?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I saw that 3 times. Yeah.
Yeah, that was really fun. I kind of tend to like that one a little bit better because it was more fun for me.
Yeah.
But the new movie, I mean, they really every character that Hatbox, Harry, or whatever, all of them, they're all in it, and it's really it's very cool. I mean, if you're a lover of the Haunted Mansion, one of my favorite souvenirs from the Haunted Mansion that I still have, I have a Chinese puzzle box that has Haunted Mansion on top of it that I bought at Disneyland. And to this day, whenever I happen across it, when I'm going through my stuff, I always have to try and open it again. It has all those sliding panels out of wood,
Cool,
and it's cool. But I love the Haunted Mansion. I've always loved it. And of course, many of us in California thought that Walt Disney was buried, or not buried, but frozen under the Haunted Mansion, which they claim didn't really.
Yeah.
We always thought that he was. We always heard that's why it took so long for the Haunted Mansion to open, because Walt passed away and then they put his body frozen under the Haunted Mansion. So
Mm-hmm.
it's still kind of one of those folk tales,
Right.
Yeah, well, you know what you're talking about, that puzzle box that you're talking about from the Haunted Mansion.
Yeah.
I actually got it in I don't know, about 6, 7, 8 years ago. I actually bought one for, I think it was like $29.95. You know, those things
Wow.
are selling for like $300-400 right now.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean,
Wow.
I got it, and it was, because I bought it in the Haunted Mansion. They had it in one of the
Yeah.
the store in Florida, and they had it in the shelf, but I think it was like in the back towards. So, because I always look around the shelf to see if I find anything different. And
Yes.
I found it, go, wow, I'm taking this. And I bought it, and I don't know if it was 29 or 49.95, one of the two. But I have it, and it's crazy. When I was trying to get another one, I'm like, what, 200-300?
That's
But
right.
you
Wow.
know what? Collectibles are going up really.
Wow, you got a collectible piece there, Michael. You know the
Yeah.
thing
Well, mine
that
is actually from when they opened Haunted Mansion. I actually bought it there at Disneyland in that era in the 60s. So,
I'm just saying, wow. You know what's sad about these older movies? You cannot rent DVDs anymore. Everything is streamed.
yeah.
You know what? I mean, I love technology, but I'm from the old school. I like to have a physical DVD in my hand. I mean, even up in Pittsburgh, the red boxes are vanishing. I mean, one just closed up in front of a big store we had for years. I guess now with everything streaming, you know what? Both of my sons, I said, well, where do you get a DVD? They said, Dad, we stream everything nowadays. They have games that they buy that they don't own. You don't physically own.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. I don't like it, to be honest with you.
Me neither. I don't like it either. I like to have the packaging. I like to have.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the good thing is you can always burn your own copy.
Yeah.
Once
True.
you buy, one thing I'm going to tell you, that when you guys, the Haunted Mansion, one of the best things about the Haunted Mansion is there's a guy who actually, it's called, what's the famous words they use when it's on a bridge or a bridge? In other words, it's not a licensed review of the Haunted Mansion or something,
Oh,
but
yeah.
it's one of the original Imagineer workers or managers who built the Haunted Mansion. And it's called, it's a 2-part DVD. They sell them on eBay for like 29, whatever. You can actually watch the whole thing on YouTube for free. But the guy actually goes into the Haunted Mansion. He has all the lights on. One thing that I learned from him, as he explains, it's each tombstone outside is one of the people that actually built the Haunted Mansion.
Isn't it
Yeah.
something?
Yeah. Right.
So
Wow.
he's one of those guys, and he went on to explain the story behind it and how it's supposed to be, I think, a sailor. I mean, I forgot right now the story, but it's like an hour and 45 minutes long, but it
Mhm.
takes an entire tour of the Haunted Mansion and how it works, and you can see all the props, and I think it's fabulous. Now, the thing with when you mentioned the hot box ghost,
Yeah.
hat box, I'm saying hot box. The hat box ghost, when it came out, and which is funny because every single ad you see always has pictures of him, but the reason he's really actually not in the Haunted Mansion is because when it came out in 1969, it wasn't working. It wouldn't work
Right.
properly, so they had it
Right.
for like a week and then they took it off.
Uh,
They've reinstalled it, I think, in California.
Yes. Recently. Uh-huh.
And I believe that they not only installed it in California, but they're doing it in Florida as well. Now, I tell you this, I purchased, I don't know, several years ago, a 3 or 4 feet tall
Just
hat box ghost. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's probably worth a lot. It was some person on eBay that was actually building them.
Wow.
Really, really cool. And it actually works. You have the head where, I think it uses where one light dims and the other one, and
Yeah.
so
Right.
the idea with the hat box goes is that his head disappears and appears inside the hat box he's carrying.
right.
And then he goes back and so on. And he was supposed to be next to his bride. Now,
Right.
the bride appears in 2 parts. The bride appears where the hat box ghost was, but she's also appearing as you're leaving the Haunted Mansion in Florida. You can see her over the the door as you're exiting the place. That little one there, it's the same. But let me tell you though, I love the Haunted Mansion, and in fact, I remember buying in a souvenir shop, not a souvenir shop, like an Old Navy type of thing, not Old Navy, thrift shop,
Yeah.
and they had for 49 cents an ashtray. and it said Haunted Mansion in the bottom.
Yeah.
Crazy as it sounds, I actually sold that for $98 on eBay.
Oh, wow.
So I mean, people, and I also had the head of one of the hitchhikers. It was a blow mold. I got it for like $2-3, and I sold it for 130.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. Hey, but
Anything.
that old principle, as Michael knows, where the ghosts appear and disappear, that's based on an old effect called the Pepper's Ghost illusion, or the
Yeah.
blue one.
As a matter of fact, I think, Chuck, they have the original that was made up at the Magic Castle in a little display that the guy made to demonstrate to Walt to show him how it could work.
Yeah, that's you know what? It's an amazing thing. I mean, Robert Houdin used it back in the 1800s. It even went back even prior to that. I had one built in 1979 by Wilcox Magic, either in North or South Carolina. It's a big box.
Yeah,
and it is on one of my videos, and you can make like a life-size skull that I put in around Halloween time. You could like make it dematerialize or make it materialize, and it goes so slow because it's on a rheostat. The lights in front dim, while the lights back come up. I mean, it's just with the flip of a switch and you walk away. Mine is chain driven. It's really slick, but it is kind of bulky. It's about 3.5 feet by 3.5 feet. It's kind of heavy. So that's the only drawback to it.
Well, the Pepper's Ghost, I love that in the Haunted Mansion, but actually at Knott's Berry Farm in Southern California, they have, I can't remember the name. It's the Lodge, something Lodge. And it's no longer open because they're running out of the parts for it. But it was a beautiful story, Native American story. It was about this old Native American gentleman who then he became young, and it shows the crow flying. It's all based on Native American lore.
That's neat. Wow.
Mystery Lodge was the name of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just beautiful use of Pepper's Ghost. It's just an amazing, beautiful.
Oh, yeah. And in the old sideshows, Michael, where the guy would turn into the gorilla, and so
yes,
forth. And,
Zambora, yeah,
Zambora. It's the same principle. Abbott's came out with a hand. It changes to like a gorilla hand, and I just built one not too long ago, and it's based off of that principle. I'll send you the link. It's a box that you put your hand in, and it slowly materializes.
I gotta see it.
It slowly goes into like a gorilla hand. Because you know what, I wasn't gonna pay like, I don't know, $700 or $800. I could build that.
Right.
We should get one that we have a box where we stick Joe's head in it and turn him into a gorilla.
There you go.
Yeah, that way he will always be in the show, man. You know what I mean?
Make a cigar appear in his mouth.
Yeah. They used to have Zambora at the Circus in Las Vegas. And matter of fact, it was in one of the James Bond movies. They actually had it in the film, but it was actually in the casino there on the second level where they had the kids stuff, and you could go in and see Zambora. And boy, I ran out of there screaming so loud when and broke out of the cage. It was like, oh my gosh, you run out of there screaming,
If I'm not mistaken, Michael, Ripley's Believe It or Not, the one that was on the boardwalk from Ocean City, I believe they still have some type of a Pepper's Ghost.
Wow.
Yeah, where you put your hand in there and it changes or something. I think I remember something about that.
Well,
that was about 5 years ago. I don't know if they still do, but yeah.
Well, you guys gotta know every single amusement park out there, even our amusement rides, use the Pepper's Ghost illusion a lot. One of the famous places that has it, which is to be honest, I don't even know if it's just the Pepper's Ghost they use, but they have one illusion there that's a killer. That's the House of Frankenstein up in Lake George, New York.
Oh yeah.
When that opened up, actually, believe it or not, Sarah Karloff was there.
Wow.
I think it opened back in 1971, and the manager, who's still running it to this day, is the same guy. But there's and I actually, you know what? I feel like putting it online. I have to find it. There's one particular window that you walk up to, and all of a sudden there's a chair inside, and a ghost materializes right in front of you.
That's cool.
And this is with all the lights on. He materializes, comes up to the window, goes. Let me tell you, the best illusion I've ever seen.
Wow.
Phenomenal. But I think they used the Pepper's Ghost there a couple of times in different because basically what the House of Frankenstein is, it's not really a haunted house ride or anything. It's more like a Ripley's Believe It that you walk down the hallway and it has.
Oh, I see.
but it's really nice, man. Every time I go there with Dave Harborside, we've gone up there like 3 times. I love going to there, and it's one of my favorite, rides when I get there. But each time they've made it look better and better. But the last time I got a really good video of it, in fact, I stayed there just videotaping the thing until it materialized, disappeared. But I mean, stuff like that is really phenomenal. And
Oh, it is.
Pebbles,
You mentioned Frankenstein. I was, I don't know if you changed the subject sort of, but have you guys seen The Last Voyage of the Demeter?
No, I haven't.
I haven't.
Because, that's about the segment in Dracula where he's going from Transylvania to England on the ship. And it's a very well done. Stephen King has said that he really has enjoyed it. And it's not making any money, basically a flop, but you would like, especially you, Eddie, you like pirate ships, but this is like the way they depict the ship is so gritty and so interesting. And the ship itself is a character in the show, really. And it's about Dracula surviving off the people on the ship, and then eventually when he gets to England and it crashes on shore at Whitby. It's the small portion that's in usually a Dracula movie that lasts about a minute or two, but they made a whole film out of it. And it's a bit slow moving because paced like old films, like the old classic films that we like. But it's in color. But I would tell you that as a monster fan, I mean, it's worth seeing. It's only made $8 million, cost $45 million to make, so it's really considered a big flop. But the truth is, I think there's a couple things they made a mistake. They didn't use the word Dracula in the title, so nobody knows Last Voyage of the Demeter. Nobody knows what that is.
Yeah, that you wouldn't know. You're right. Wow.
It should have been The Last Voyage of Dracula or something.
Exactly.
You shocked me right now, Mike, because I thought that movie would do a killing, especially since it has such a great trailer. It's a scary trailer. Secondly, the Haunted Mansion, which I'm hoping is still in the movie theaters.
It is.
Because I would like to see that in the movie theaters. Because I love the Haunted Mansion. In fact, as many people out there, if people don't know, the last time I went to Walt Disney, I had my daughter, the kids went, around, they left me. And first I rode the Haunted Mansion with my grandson twice. First, everybody rode it. And then the second time they said to me, you stay here, we're leaving. So I left and I sneaked back in. I went back in. But I found out that at that moment there was few people. So I was able to ride it another 7 times.
Is that something?
And I just kept coming in and out, in and out. And the people were looking like, is this guy nuts?
I've gone it 7 times. I love it.
I love that. Great. I love the ride, but I was going to tell, I'm kind of really shocked by what you just said about that movie not being that great. In fact, I know Joe, and I would love to have Joe on today. Unfortunately, he can't. He's been very busy in his job. Right. But he was looking forward for it really bad. So I don't know if he got to see it or not, but
yeah, it won't be in the theaters very long because it's not making money. But the thing is, for us classic monster fans, I'm not going to say it's a great film, but it's a very well done, well produced movie, and it's very atmospheric, and the acting is excellent. I mean, the captain on the ship is what they've done though is they've had one extra character that survives at the end, and I hate to give that away, but it sort of doesn't follow through with what we all know from Dracula, but it's okay. It really doesn't matter. In the end, it's the journey, and it's like with the Titanic or anything like that. You know what the ending is, but it's the journey and what happens during the journey.
Right.
I think they did a very good job on it, and I think it has that classic feel. In other words, it could have been a black and white silent film quite easily. It's that feeling,
No, but I think I saw a little bit of Pirates of the Caribbean in the ship. I saw a little bit of it. I mean, the movie looked phenomenal. In fact, I'm kind of looking forward, and I thought it was kind of funny the way the Dracula there looks like Nosferatu.
Yeah.
Not the Bela Lugosi, but Nosferatu. I think they probably did that because, to avoid a lot of the licensing fees and stuff. Because everybody knows Nosferatu is in the public domain,
Right.
Or if you use the name Dracula or stuff like that, there's a possibility you got to pay Universal,
Well, it is a Universal film.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah. So it's actually, Universal's had such a hard time, guys, getting any movie to have traction that has to do with classic monsters. I mean, a few years back, the Benicio del Toro Wolfman was phenomenal, but it just didn't catch the public, imagination.
Wow.
The movie they kill and they redo and redo, and I'm surprised they made so many, is The Mummy.
Oh yeah.
Everybody knows. I mean, The Mummy is The Mummy, but it's not I mean, I don't care for The Mummy. I never did growing up, and today, because it is Boris Karloff, I might want to sometimes, but I really don't like the film. And they've made so many sequels from it. It's crazy.
Yeah, they did.
And that, I think, is because of licensing. Because with The Mummy, they could just do anything with it. It's not
right.
You're going to use Frankenstein. You're going to use his face. Oh, guys, by the way, check this out. Check this out. I don't know if my brother's going to be easy giving it up or not, but he was able to obtain from some guy in Europe. I don't know exactly who the guy is, but he buys a lot from this guy in Spain. He was able to obtain a 1882 original copy of Frankenstein by Mary Shelley.
Wow.
That is phenomenal. That book
That's
is
crazy.
It is crazy. That book is selling for $10,000 right now.
Oh my goodness.
And if he doesn't send it to me, obviously when I go down to Florida, I'm going to do a video with it.
Right.
But he also was able to get 2 copies, which I think he got one for me finally, which I had the thing, but like I said, I don't even know if I lost it in the fire, but The Unmasking of Robert Houdin by Robert Houdini, one of the original public printings.
Right.
Yeah.
And he also got the works of Robert Houdin.
Nice.
He's gotten quite a few original stuff, but more than anything that I really was fascinating. I mean, he's being reluctant to give me them, but he's got about 4 or 5 original programs and a poster or 2 from Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein.
That's my all-time favorite.
Yeah, that's such
the original. You know what? I'm tied, Mike. I'm tied between that one and Hold That Ghost.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. Hold That Ghost was the first one I saw.
Right.
So I was first. That was the one that was my favorite. The second was that the only thing I hate about Hold That Ghost that I always fast forward is the Andrews sisters singing Aurora.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
It's like back in those days, every movie had to have.
Yeah.
And hey. And you know what? The Andrews sisters were okay, but they weren't like super pretty either,
No.
So growing up, it's not like you say, "Oh, wow, look at that girl,"
Yeah, that's all my dad talked about when I was a kid. The Andrews sisters, I said, "Oh my goodness."
Oh my gosh, they were hideous, I think,
Yeah, I didn't care.
But I don't know. Mike stayed quiet in that part, but the whole thing is that's the only thing. But Hold That Ghost, it holds a lot dear to my heart. And the funny thing, Mike, is, and you're aware of this, the only time they did release it on VHS back in the day.
Yes, that's right. I have a copy.
Right, but they never released it on DVD except if you bought the Abbott and Costello collection.
Right.
Which is kind of bizarre why they wouldn't release that movie, which is one of their greatest films, on DVD.
Well, you might be able to stream it. Huh? Who knows?
Well, we had a talk about this. I don't know if Mike was on that talk, but no, Mike, actually, I don't think you were. Me and Joe and stuff, we were talking a few weeks ago in one of the podcasts. My son bought Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein in high definition.
Nice.
Like 4K. When you're watching it, it looks so realistic that it reminded me of Dark Shadows.
Oh, wow.
You know what I'm saying? It's like a live thing.
I know.
Yes.
It kind of took away, because it actually felt, because my son has this 75-inch TV, and we're sitting a few feet away from it.
Wow.
It actually felt like they were there, and it kind of like didn't really, how can I say, like
a little of the fantasy of it, because it becomes more like it was shot on video instead of on film.
Exactly. I think there was about 4 or 5 Twilight Zones that were shot on video, and and you could see the difference. Definitely.
Actually, this thing made it look like I was watching a play. Let's put it that way.
Right, and that does take away from the fantasy feel to it. Yeah, I agree.
And we were talking, and even Joe agreed that there's a lot of films that should just not be made in 4K.
Oh, I agree.
I mean, You know, an example, it doesn't matter. If you watch The House on Haunted Hill, Vincent Price colorized or regular.
You know, I'm watching that right now as we talk.
I love that film.
It's on TCM right now, and so I have it on silent with subtitles, and I'm watching it as we speak.
That's so funny. You know, I have I think 11 copies of that film.
I love it. I have the color version. I have regular versions.
That's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, I can't stand high definition TV. You know
Me
what? I look good far away. When someone gets too close, it's like, whoa. You know what I mean? I don't
Right.
I don't
Well,
want to look
in the 4K version of Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, and this is funny because you only see it because it's in 4K. If you see the part where Costello's sitting in the park,
Yeah.
and the girl's trying to say, look into his eyes, he's got a broken lip or something.
There you go.
But you cannot tell, but you can see that little dot in his lip, and you're looking at him, and your eyes just go to the lip.
That goes right, exactly.
Wow.
It shows every imperfection. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I
it doesn't. And this is obviously real because you could see that I think it was either his lip. He must either hurt himself or something.
Sure.
But he had a thing in his lip, and it shows so darn good. I mean,
well, you know, in the scene where Glenn Strange Frankenstein punches through the door and it hits Lou in the face, that actually it was misdone, and he actually did get hit in the face. So that's probably from that.
That's probably what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. It could have been. Well, this I think happened before that scene.
I know, but you don't know when they shot the order of it.
No, you don't know.
That's right. It could have been because of that. Because you know what's so funny? Now that you say that, I feel like watching it so I could see if it hits him in the mouth.
Yeah,
like
because they really did get injured. I mean, what happened was they weren't supposed to. It was the timing was off or something was off. I can't recall, but it's in that scene where they're running through the castle and then Frankenstein, bam, smashes through there, and the door, that little part of the door, hits him in the face.
Well, the other thing that was also is that if you remember when Glenn Strange went to throw the girl out the window, he did it with a broken leg.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it wasn't him. It wasn't him that did it.
It wasn't him that threw it out, right? Oh,
no. What happened was that he sprained or broke or whatever to his leg, and Lon Chaney actually put on the Frankenstein makeup. That's Lon Chaney Jr. in that.
Oh, wow.
Okay, yeah, because I heard that he had broken his leg, and I mean, how could you not? You're wearing shoes that are like 5 feet,
Yeah.
When you watch it again, you'll see it's Lon Jr. doing that. But Lon offered to do it to help Glenn out, and so in that movie, which is interesting, Lon Chaney plays both Frankenstein and the Wolf.
That's amazing. Wow.
That is, that's a little tidbit that I to be honest with you, I didn't even realize, and I think, you're right. I did hear about it a long time ago, but I didn't, that's just like a lot of people don't realize, and I think we mentioned this. You weren't on the show, but if you watch The House of Wax with Vincent Price.
Watch that. I just watched that just before on a hill, actually.
But Charles Heston is in it. He's like the guy that Ken took, the brute guy.
Oh, Charles Bronson, yeah.
Charles Bronson, right?
Yeah.
Charles Heston.
And I think he was called Charles Bajenski or something.
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah.
Now I will tell you something. My daughter and I went to the Egyptian Theater in Hollywood many years back, and we saw it in 3D. And while we were there at the theater, they had the actual head of Charles Bronson that they show at the end of the film. That's the wax head. It was there on display along with a 3D camera, which is about the size of a single bed. And it was gigantic. It was long, and it was like a bed, and it had 3 lenses. And they actually had Charles Bronson's head there at the showing.
That's funny. You know what? Now that you mentioned that, I got to tell you guys this story, real funny. About my birthday was August 4, right? So my son-in-law decides, he sees on Instagram the creature from the Black Lagoon over a door. You got a thing, I guess, when you've gone to Chiller, or any convention. You know that creature that looks like it's coming out of the ground?
Yeah.
It's about 3 feet in diameter.
Yeah.
And it's just a head, and it goes for like $100 and some. Well, they had it on Instagram, and they had it over the door, and he bought it for $50. So he's like, oh, Eddie's going to love this. So I had seen it before I even knew that they had ordered for me. I had seen it on this Chinese website called Wish, W-I-S-H.
Oh, yeah. My wife buys there.
Right. And I saw it for $17.95, and they show it over the door. And I'm like, what? Man, they sell this thing for $100. So I went ahead and bought 4, right?
Yeah.
When I get over to the house, My daughter says, Eddie, do you remember? Or she says, Daddy, you remember the time when her mom, ordered an oil painting back in 2001, I think it was. It was supposed to be an oil painting for like 40 something dollars. And when we got it back, it was the size of about a plate of food, you know?
Right.
It was a miniature thing. And my wife was going to put it in the wall. And I said to myself, are you kidding? It was like 5x7, right? But it looked like it had an old, it actually had an old frame. It was an oil painting, but only 5x7.
Wow.
And then my wife also ordered another thing. She saw a tea set. And when she ordered the tea set, it was actually a poster of a tea set. And you know, so that was when you would check a money order, and eBay really wouldn't refund you, or you were screwed.
Right.
So
That's hilarious.
My daughter gives me the box. This thing, I'm actually going to put a picture of it on the website or something. This thing is so funny because it's only about maybe 11 inches across. And I'm like,
wow.
are you kidding me? And it's not even a licensed product.
Oh my goodness.
It's made of rubber. And I said to myself, not rubber, you know, like they make the aliens,
like foam.
Yeah, like the foam thing. And I said to myself, I cannot believe. I immediately called the credit card company and canceled my order.
Yeah.
Wow.
I said, that was the biggest scam. But it was funny though, because I thought it was the same big one from Chiller. And I'm like, wow, I'm going to order 4 because I'm going to give them.
Well, they show in the photo that it's over a door.
Yeah, I mean, because they're showing a picture probably of the real one, and then they show that, but it's kind of funny though, because that's really what they call fake advertising.
Yeah,
I'm surprised they get away with it though.
You're not kidding.
Anyway, that was so funny. That's when you said about the creature. But one thing I wanted to say, you know how you guys, when you go to Universal Studios, Florida or California, this thing really got me pissed off. I went a total of 4 times there, right?
Yeah.
Each time I went, the only thing they had to do with Universal Monsters is that little stupid cafe in the middle, which is like a Universal Monster little restaurant there,
right?
Cafe across. Each time I went, it was closed.
Oh,
like I literally went on the thing 4 times, and you know, each individual time, and each time I went, it was closed. My daughter started laughing at me, so I would go inside and take pictures next to the creature and stuff like that. But to eat there, every time I got there was closed. One time we got there 12 noon, the thing was closed.
Bad time.
Wow.
Another time 2:30, I'm like, what the heck? You know, what's even the sense of having it? You know.
Well, you know, I will tell you that when I work at Universal, I have in the past. There's still one doorway that was in the original Frankenstein film on the back lot. You know, the back lot burned down at one point, but there's one doorway, and because I was working there, I got friendly with the guys, and they let me walk the back lot, and I actually got to take a shot right by the original door, one of the original doorways from Frankenstein.
Wow, cool.
Really? That's a picture you got to send us.
I'll have to find it. I don't know where it is now, but it would be cool.
It would be nice. It would definitely be neat. Yeah. Any last words, guys?
Well, I say quickly that I'm going to be at the Twin Falls Fair in Filer, Idaho next week. If anybody wants to catch Danger Magic Hypnosis and you live near Filer, Idaho or Twin Falls, come out and say hi. I'd love to meet you.
All right. Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Great podcast.
Take care, guys.
A lot of fun. See you next time, guys.
Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.